Very, very cool. Well, she's already here. Hello, hello, hello. Those of you listening live, those of you on the replay, thank you so much for being here. My name is Sabrina Victoria. This is Her Talk Show. I am here with Bethany Boring. We are going to be diving into all kinds of things today. So get comfortable as we explore the triumphs, the challenges faced by women worldwide. Bethany is going to be offering some insights and inspiration to fuel your personal growth. She's going to be talking about beyond surviving. She's going to be talking about community and how important it is. Let's jump in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
All right. Those listening live or on the replay. By the way, if you're watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. But we're here every day. We delve into three categories: health, wealth, and leadership. We interview some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed over 600 women. We have another one we are adding to the list today. We have Bethany Boring. She is a certified Christian mental health coach. She empowers Christian counselors and leaders, drawing over 20 years of professional church ministry roles and works with several organizations. She offers mental health coaching, team building, and leadership development. She founded tip groups for peer support among Christian professionals and hosts the Radical Care for Christian Counselors podcast. I love that. Bethany's engaging speaking style and events inspire faith and resilience, aiming to build thriving, transformative communities. Welcome, lady.
Hey, so glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. So appreciate it. Before we jumped on the live here, we were talking about how much we love community and how it's really helped us really be able to help the masses
Yes.
by really dipping in. And building a community can be quite scary, quite intimidating. How did you do that? How did you go from one-on-ones to community? What was kind of your journey for that?
Yeah, so I've been in mental health coaching role for a while, and the way I got into it was through my own counseling experience. And I found a way of defending myself when I was in counseling was to have the counselor talk about themselves, right? Keep it away from me and all about them. And it was a huge defense. But at the same time, I wasn't getting any help, but they were getting a great place that they usually don't have, right? And so eventually somebody along the line set me in my place and said, no, and this place is for you and you're going to get the help that you need, which I did, which I'm very grateful for. But at the same time, they turned the tables on me. They said, Bethany, there's no places for counselors, for leaders to actually be and get this space. Can you create something like that? And I'm like, am I allowed to? It's like, is there some kind of rule about that? And I found out that there's not. And I found more than anything, just getting these small groups of like 6 to 8 people max, traveling together for like 6 months, getting to know each other well, supporting each other is so transformative. And now they get to do it in their own practices. So yeah, that's what I got to do.
Absolutely. That's fabulous. And I know a lot regarding your community building. You lean a lot into authentic storytelling and how important it is for individuals to know our story in order to inspire others. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, authenticity is huge, right? I'm an Enneagram person, so I'm a 4 on the Enneagram if you speak that language. But yeah, I mean, a lot of us really don't have places to safely share our story, right? Either somebody cuts us off halfway through and interrupts with their story, or they just cannot emotionally handle. Like, how many of us, like Sabrina, do you know people in your life that have gone, I want to actually hear your story, but I don't know if I can handle it? Or there's some people that you're just like, I can't tell this part of my story to that person because you don't want to hurt them or you feel like you're too much.
Absolutely.
Does that resonate at all with you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so that takes time to actually find a group that you can really trust to share your story, right? Even if you're a counselor, even if you wear a professional hat, you still need a place to share your story. And so that's why we really do this deep work. It doesn't just mean that just because you're a counselor that you've got it all figured out. And it's given me a place too to walk through, like, because I have chart syndrome, I'm a single mom, I've got life going on too, and it's a great place for me to actually receive support as well. And so that's the difference between my groups and a lot of other groups out there.
Yeah. When it comes to storytelling too, at least for me, I think one of the biggest issues that I had regarding sharing my story when I first started out is I didn't want people to feel like an obligation to like help or give. It was just like, this is my story and I'm telling my story to inspire. I'm not telling my story, sharing my story for like sympathy. I'm not trying to like
Yes.
get from anybody. I'm not trying to get a somebody to be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that that happened to you." More so telling a story, telling my story in order to inspire others. So, what has been your, I guess, journey with that as far as really leaning into your story, but then also just kind of how that's showing up for people and how you're navigating that?
Yeah, I mean, I used to think that I had to inspire. Not that I don't. I still see myself as inspirational. But I'll tell you the truth. I mean, I have vision loss. I have hearing loss. I have a short right arm. I mean, I walk into any stage and people are like, "Yeah, she's got a story." Like, it's just there. I don't have to do anything. God's giving me that presence, which is great. But you know what thing really drives me nuts? And I don't know if you can relate to this, and any of our listeners can, but I've been told many times in my life that, Bethany, you encourage me so much because, listen to this and see if this resonates with you. Because if you can do it, Bethany, I know I can do it.
Mm,
I mean, we know that sounds great, but have we ever thought about how that makes the other
I
person
do.
feel?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that drives me nuts. So yeah, I want to inspire, but just because, I mean, it's in a nice way, just because I get to do something in my life does not mean that they can, and does not mean that they should inspire them to. I'm hoping it helps them get still and realize they need other people in their life, and what are they supposed to do with it. So I hope they give them steps, but just because I do something does not mean that they need to.
I love that. Yeah. Doesn't mean that they need to. Yeah. I totally agree with that. And I hear that a lot too, because I talk very much into my universe as far as I believe that everybody has a purpose. I believe that everybody has, um, a something inside of them that's bigger than where they are right now. They're still in the middle of their journey, and there's still so much to be able to unveil. But my optimism for humanity isn't always taken with grace. A lot of people are like, I don't have to do anything. Like I can
Yeah.
stay small, I can stay little. And you're kind of feeding into that. You're like, you know what, you don't have to do anything. Just because I did it doesn't mean that you have to do it. But you know, it's nice to be able to inspire and be able to, for those that do have that spark inside of them.
Well, and even to connect, like that's why you do what you do, right? Because people hear stories on here and they connect with it. It's not necessarily seeing that I want to go out and do what you do, Sabrina, which I do love what you do. But beside that point, it's walking away from this podcast, walking away from these conversations with these stories that are going, A, can I relate to that? Most likely I can. And B, okay, what do I want to take away from this? Like this person ended up doing this with their story. Okay, what does that say about me? Do I want to continue in their footsteps? Do I want to do that? Or maybe this is the different direction that I want to go with it. So it's to get curious with ourselves, but also to raise that same conversation with other people. It's the beginning of really not only knowing ourselves better, but getting curious about what's going on in the lives of others.
Yeah, definitely. As far as you breaking the mold and like, coming out with your story and sharing your single mom story and your kid's story and owning a house story and what you're dealing with as far as your health story, how has you deciding to use your story to inspire, to use your stories to ignite energy in other people's lives, how has this opened up your life to other opportunities?
Mm. Yeah, that's a great question. So I'd like to go back a couple years ago when I first really got curious about Charter syndrome, and I had this syndrome ever since I was born, and my parents, granted, did check into it, but they were told that it didn't match the criteria, and it does. I have all the markers of Charter syndrome, and so when I started learning about this, I was teetering on the offense of going, okay, I can live a regular life. Like my parents were very much like, just because you have challenges, it's not going to hold you back. We're not going to, hold you up to any different standard that we do with your brothers. Like you're all equal, so go. So I was never like, treated differently because of that, which is good. but also strangely weird now in this space where I do have disabilities, but yet I don't really fit into either category. Because I think so many times we expect people with disabilities, like if you have vision loss, you automatically fit into this category over here. And if you don't, well, you fit into this category. And even vision loss in itself is a huge spectrum. I'm not going to get into all that. But all this to say, I found my space on both, face stages, but also inspirational stages, but also stages that talked about people that have disabilities, people that were doing amazing things. And what I found out, strangely enough, is that people just being, like I mentioned before, just want to be connected with. They want to know that somebody with vision loss and hearing loss still, even though they might have it all together, so to speak, doesn't. Stuff hits the fan. I accidentally used Neosporin instead of toothpaste. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have our things that we struggle with, no matter what it is. And it really gives us an idea of communicating. But also, I'm learning that everybody really does just want to have that relational connection. So after I get off of whatever stage I'm on or whatever platform it is, I get down and I love to just hang out with people and hear their stories, because a lot of times we touch on this. A lot of times we don't have a safe place to say it. So if they hear me saying my story, then they're like, oh, wow, I do have a safe place to share mine. And so back and forth.
How did you come to the epiphany of the importance of storytelling? At what point in your life did you sit down and you say, you know what, I'm going to start speaking my story into the universe?
I don't know if I had a set time, honestly, but I will say this. I follow Kurt Thompson and help out with some of the confessional community groups, which, if you even hear that name, confessional community, like everything in me was like, oh, heck to the no. Like, no. But the more I researched about it, it really was just a safe place for people to share their stories. And I was like, okay, I need to experience this to see if this is like actually authentic and see if it's true. So I went to their in-person training, and then I helped out with a bunch of their online groups. And I get connected with an organization called Luke 10. And I realized, wait a second, there are places that we can make safe for people to really share their stories. But there's things that we do, like I mentioned earlier, as we share our stories with somebody, that makes it feel really uncomfortable and awkward. And so I started researching those things. I'm like, okay, how can I create a group that really feels safe, that people can share their stories without having to be fixed, but where people can actually enter into that person's story and not make it about, somebody else. Have that person be the same thing.
Yeah.
So when I experienced that, I was like, okay, this has to. So I had to go and venture into these groups and get scared and share some of my story. And when I was met with, wow, Bethany, when you share that part of your story, I just felt the whole inside of me just sink down. I was so sad for you, or I wanted to beat that person up, or whatever, instead of, I have a story about that. It changed, and it changed the way that I saw storytelling forever.
That's awesome. I love how you're talking about how you got scared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because people sometimes that's how why people step back, because they feel that scared, they feel that fearful. And I always say, like, you got to acknowledge the fear and then do it fearful, do it scared. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and take time to like call fear out. Like, hey, I mean, I have a conversation with my emotions. I don't know if you do, but I do. And I'm like, man, fear, you are causing this inside of me today. There's obviously a little kid in me that feels fearful about something. So I'm just going to give my chance this time to really see, okay, where's another time in my life where I felt this fear? What was going on? Well, now I'm in a different space. So what can the current me offer the younger me? And then really have that discussion. And now, again, mental health all the way. So there's your mental health tip for the day. But the more we avoid it, the worse it gets. And so let's just crush that. And the way we do that too is through relationship. Because when somebody else sees that we're afraid and they call us out and they're like, hey, I'm not going to fix you. I just want to be with you. How can I best be with you in this right now? So, yeah.
That's great. I love that. Who do you feel like you inspire the most? Who's your audience? Who do you speak to the most?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, I love talking with my charge syndrome people, anybody with like any kind of limiting belief. I love those conversations because they've already got a belief in them that I can't do blah, blah, blah. And A, I like to shove that belief where it came from, which is the pit of hell. And then B, I like to tell them, I'm like, you know what? We aren't born to have limits. We have
Mm.
healthy limits. We have healthy limits that keep us under, but there are limits that we impose on ourselves that keep us stuck. So let's call those out and let's get curious about those limits. Let's invite other people into this belief patterns that we have. Let's bring God into it. Let's really get serious about this and go, okay, I only have this one life to live.
Mm.
So how do I dare to do more than just survive and get the tools and resources and community around me that I can really thrive? Because I'm done surviving. I'm done telling these dumb stories to myself. I want to live
Mm.
something else out.
Yeah. What a good, I guess, quote. We're not born to have limits. Very powerful. Because we do all put limitations on ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, financially.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Why do we
learning
do
to
that?
laugh about that. Well, as Rachel said, she says, I love that tip. Have a conversation with your emotions. That's fantastic. I think a lot of it is fear. I think a lot of it is emotions. You know, whatever we're telling ourselves, whatever is coming up could be fear, could be anger, could be sadness, could be depression,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All of those emotions, but a lot of those are put in there to just stop you from doing whatever you're afraid of.
It's good. Yeah. And the idea that comes to my mind is that I'll just use this example. Story time with Bethany. Okay, so I'm going through vision loss, and one of the things that my trainer really wanted me to work on was having a guide dog. And I was like, ha, no, I've already got a dog and a cat and 3 hungry boys to feed. I do not need anything living to try to keep alive in this house. No. But eventually I came around because she was like, this can give you some independence. So I'll never forget the day that I was outside of my house with a dog harness thing, and she was holding it. She's like, well, before we can actually get you through the guide dog process, you have to show to us that you can actually do this, because I have a short right arm. I have hearing loss. It's not just vision that's going on. So they had to make sure that I could do this. Okay, I want you to picture this. My neighbors were watching. I have a couple that were peeking out the door. I was literally going down the road with this lady holding this dog harness, and I had to talk to her like she was a dog, and I'm just like, what is happening right now? But I share all this because I had to get to the point where I wanted to try something else, because normally when I get to the end of the street, I always go right, because I know what's right. I know that way. I know that it's level. I know that it's safe. I know the turns. I know every crack in the road. So I wanted to go right. On this day, she looks at me and goes, yeah, we're going to go left. And I'm like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, we're going to go left. And I'm like, okay. So I go because I know I can't see very well, and there's places that I have literally fallen and busted my knee. So I didn't really want to go that way. So she goes up, she steps up to the curb, and she starts walking, and then all of a sudden she stops. And I'm like, I almost bump under her. I'm like, why are you stopping? And she's like, Bethany, there's a huge crack in the road, and I know that you couldn't see it. So a guide dog would stop and let you know that it's there. Never in my wildest dreams did it occur to me that I didn't have to only go the certain way. If I got a guide dog, I could go left, I could go straight, I could go so many other places that I haven't even bothered exploring. And I put that limit on myself.
Wow.
So that's really opened me up in my world, because a lot of things that I thought I would never do or be labeled as somebody with a disability, because that's what I thought it would be with a guide dog. And I'm calling that out. I'm like, no. And I've learned I had to give myself value enough to ask the hard questions and surround myself with people that really saw my value and was willing to walk that journey with me.
You know what's really coming up for me with that is like, yes to everything you're saying. Like, yes, cheer you on, snap, snap. And how cool is it to give a dog such an awesome job?
Yes.
Like that dog just wants to help out. And now it has like a duty, in life where it's fulfilled to its fullest capacity to be able to assist, which is something that he's good at. So it's like, yeah, to the human. But like how cool to be able to give that to a little furry animal, a
Yeah.
badass, a confident, supportive, mammal that's helping
Yeah.
us out. That's just so cool.
Yeah. And it goes both ways, right? Because obviously, and I don't have one yet, so I'm still waiting. But I do have another dog. And I know that there's some days where he literally can feel that I'm down. He
Mm,
can literally feel in both ways. And so, like, if an animal can do that, what is wrong with our humanity that sometimes we miss the cues from other people? you know? And so that's what I always think. He always has a way of making me stop and go, okay, I need to acknowledge you, but I also need to acknowledge what's going on inside of me and stop to see what's going on with everybody else. So, yeah.
mm. That's great. I love that. What a great story. So I know you do a lot with community. I know you do a lot with Christian counselors. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about exactly what do you do for these
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned before, I was tired of watching a lot of my really close friends and ministry leaders literally step down out of their leadership positions, out of their counseling, out of their coaching roles because they were so sick and tired of doing the one on ones. And I saw what that did to their family. I saw that did to their self esteem. And it started with my friend who left and he started to work at McDonald's. Nothing against McDonald's. Everybody has their own cup of tea as far as that goes. But I remember going through the drive through and going, you do not belong here.
Mm,
You do not belong here. And we have so many counselors, so many leaders, so many people that don't belong where they currently are, but they can't take the stress of
mm,
doing the one on ones. And they don't, honestly, and I mean this in a nice way, they don't have time to really take care of themselves.
yeah.
So, how are we supposed to offer to others what we ourselves have not experienced?
Mm,
And so I created a safe place where counselors and leaders and mental health professionals can come take off their professional hat and just be seen for who they are. So they learn to check in, they learn to practice interactive appreciation, they learn how to connect with their own spouse and kids again. They learn how to do relationships outside of our group to find those people that really do see them for who they are. And then they learn to tell their story and they learn how to be with people and their stories without any counseling modalities. They could just be with. And then they learn during the second 6 months how to actually put that into use in their practice, whether it's a small group that they're starting in their church, whether it's a counseling group, whether it's like me sitting down with my kids and going, y'all, we need to check in because crap's about to hit the fan. So we need to talk about what's going on. And I have teenagers that can label their emotions and they're not afraid about being fixed. They can tell me they're angry without me blowing up at them.
mm.
So we need to create safe environments like that. And it starts by experiencing that in a group with people that really do want to show up and do the work and make it a safe place for people to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. We have a ton of people watching live. We have
Wow.
people that I'm sure will be watching on the replay. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about who exactly should be reaching out to you, like where in the world, who exactly, men, women, who do you serve exactly? And then where can people find you?
Yeah, love that question. Love that question. So, really quick, if you're watching this now or before the holiday season ends, which is, the end of December, I'm doing what's called pop up check in, which is POPUP check in, all one word. And I do this around the holidays every year. And they're just small groups where people can literally come. Doesn't matter what doesn't matter male, female, doesn't matter anything about you. You just want a place where you can feel safe and check in during the holidays. So I do that. And that's open for everybody because I believe that that's important, that we need to be able to practice that. My normal group, my TIP community group, which TIP stands for Thrive Intentional Practice Group, not we got it all figured out group. This is the messiness. This is the, let's get down and dirty. Let's really want to show up for one another. Let's do the work. And that's my 6-month group. That's for leaders. That's for counselors. That's for those who really do well showing up for other people, but have no idea how to really start a group or how to really show up for themselves, or maybe just want a safe place to land for 6 months.
Mm,
We meet every single week and we grow so close together and
mm,
it's amazing. And then they get another 6 months after that if they want to learn how to launch their own group. And I stay with them the whole time. They can't get rid of me that easily. But my goal is by the time that I get done working with them and they're done with our group, that they have another group within arm's reach that they can connect with, that they can be and be able to continue to do what they love. And so my main links page is very hard. It's my name, BethanyBoring.com. And yes, my name is boring, and no, I'm not. Hopefully you guys have figured that out now. You guys can let me know, but try to not to live up to my last name. But BethanyBoring.com is where you can get everything, and you can even grab I think it's a 7 foundational habits that can help you build your small group, and I walk you through the whole process.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
This has been great. Definitely for those of you that are here live, here on the replay, if you're resonating with Bethany, all the goodness that she shared today, make sure you reach out to her. Her website is super simple, BethanyBoring.com. It is in a clickable link in the description below, wherever you are watching us at. Where do you hang out predominantly on social media? Is this Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, TikTok? Where are you at?
I do Facebook. I'm learning the TikTok world. I love doing videos. So if there's anybody that enjoys these like short clip videos, being real and authentic, big surprise. I love to do that. So basically Facebook and TikTok.
Facebook and TikTok. I love that. How long have you been on TikTok?
Probably over a year now, and I've been posting almost every single day. So yeah, I'm not about building huge communities, honestly. I just want to start conversations. And so that's my goal.
Good for you. Well, you're definitely an inspiration, definitely doing all the things, that individuals need to see from you. And 3 kids at home while dealing
All
with
boys.
all boys.
All boys. We
Oh,
have no food. No, we do.
girl, I get that. And I only have 1 boy. And I
Yes.
totally feel you on that. Although now he's 20, so he's actually paying for his own food now. So I come home,
Amen.
there's just like food in the fridge. I'm like, whose
Whoa.
food is this? He's like, I bought it. You can have some. I'm like,
Whoa.
this is so nice.
That does not compute. I'm in the process where I have to hide my
Yeah.
food in vegetable containers that I know that my kids can't get into. So yeah.
I totally get it. That's awesome. Very, very cool. Well, we love everything that you're doing. Thank you so much, Bethany, for coming on, sharing all of the goodness that is you. We will make sure that we continue to share, like, comment on this video to be able to get that algorithm working in your favor. Any closing thoughts as we start to wrap up here?
Well, I really enjoy, and I have listened to quite a few of your podcasts, and I really enjoy what you are doing by connecting with other people. And it shows. And so I was going to let you know before I get off that I see your authenticity and I see your heart. And thank you, because it takes a lot for somebody like you to keep on showing up, and you're doing it. And I just want to say, from one to another, you're amazing and you're inspiring to me, my friend. So thank you for showing up.
Thank you. Thank you, Bethany. Appreciate those beautiful words. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Bethany, for sharing, inspiring us, sharing your wisdom with us. Remember to follow, like, and share, like I said. And once again, my name is Sabrina Victoria. I run a community called Her Nation Global. We are here. We have conversations just like this one in the realms of health, wealth, and leadership, really looking to help you rise above, really connect with the individual that you are supposed to be as you evolve, as the years go on. So thank you so much. Until next time, as I always say, do something awesome today.